Hi, it's Bex here from bex-treks. The last time you joined me, we looked at this pack here by High Gear. It is the Technicals Tibet 65. Today, I'm going to show you what it is I keep in it. I'm going to say most of this kit I have here will fit my Gillett 25 litre. It's 25 plus 5, so technically 30. It's a 65 plus 5. And the 5 is your 5 extra litres under the lid here. So I can get all this, or most of it, into a 25 plus 5, but this gives me a lot more freedom because I want to upscale one of the elements in my pack, and that has not been purchased yet. So we're going to have a look at this. It's a tent system, and more than anything I want to show you how I order it, in other words where I put things. We've already looked at the pack itself and its features, but we can today show you what it is I keep in it. This doesn't travel with me, it's just going on the ground for today, just so I don't get my kit too dirty. I'm going to start with the outside of the pack. A couple of ways we can carry water is either in a bladder or bottles. Now it does have bellows pockets on either side here, so if I just release the QR clips on either side. One thing I didn't know about this when I first reviewed the pack is the bellows pockets here on the side of the pack actually extend all the way down to the bottom, although the zip stops there, so it's deeper than it looks. A bit of a TARDIS, this pack, which enables me to get a whole litre of water in just one side. Same the other side, and just to show you the kind of space we have here, undo the QR clips here, and the zipper is located where the back is, another litre. The only difference is this litre has a water filter already pre-attached. That's how big the bellows pocket is there. And yes, I know all about the Sawyer water filter, and I have one, and maybe I'll give you my opinions and thoughts on it in a different video. But this is the 𝑚𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 Pro. I am in the process of updating that because I want one with a carbon element, make the water taste and smell better, which the Sawyer just doesn't do because it only has the microfill fibres on the inside, as does this. But this I can screw to the top, drink, bite valve, and I can pour it as well. So I can pour and drink. On my other channel I was always said in the channel, why don't you tip it upside down on a knock bottle, hang it from a tree and drip it? Seriously, there's no need. You don't need to drip anything. It just comes straight out really nice. Quick flow on the 𝑚𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 Pro compared to the Sawyer. Okay, that is just two of the bellows pockets emptied out for you there. That remains the inner chamber here, and I've divided it at the bottom, so it has a bottom and a top. The top I only ever put the insulation in, such as a sleeping bag and a pad. Done. There is no more to put in that for me. Bottom here, the clothing, a bag of, and it is only a spare jumper, a jacket, maybe socks, hat, gloves. It's certainly not a full change of clothes for every day I need to be out. If I'm only out for 7 days, I will have the same clothing in here as I will for 70 days or an overnight. It really doesn't matter. Under the generous 5 litre hood here, which is your +5. I have a 5-litre dry sack. In my dry sack here is my complete cook set. It could be any cook set you want, whether that's a wood burner, liquid alcohol, gas, whatever you want. There is a mapping pocket. I haven't bothered with it on this occasion, and I haven't bothered under the lid here putting things like my ablutions, illumination, navigation and things like that. All the sundries, in other words, because we're going to have a look at all the sundries on a different video. That remains just to open the pack and show you where I keep everything and how I'm going to stow everything. It's an absolutely gorgeous pack. It is probably the most comfortable pack to put on your back on a budget. The choice of cook set I have here, I've left room for the food as well, and that includes the stove, the fuel and the pot. Again, different video. You're going to use whatever you have. Where shall we start? Let's start with the inner here, the main chamber. The upper main chamber, the biggest of the two compartments. Waterproof bag, just polythene bag. And I do have, as you can see, my 𝑚𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 X-Therm here. And I haven't put it in its stuffed sack, which would mean rolling it pretty tight and getting it small. There's nothing smaller than leaving it flat, like an envelope. That is flat. That is about the size of the back panel. Why roll it? So that is how I travel it. So there's the second element. Third element here is the insulation. Although this is not the actual insulation, we're going to come back and address that. The very bottom here, formerly known as a sleeping bag compartment, but here's where I keep my clothing, a bag of, and again, different video, just to show what clothes I use, because I'm on the budget, not paid to make videos. There's clothing, sleeping bag or top quilt in this case, with a pad, stove to cook with. That leaves the shelter itself, top hood here, and under the top hood, or inside the top hood, is my Lanshan 1 Pro. That's pretty much the pack, empty, and as you can see, not many individual components at all, even including the water. So this is what I call my skeleton pack. I concentrate on shelter and insulation. The insulation, the clothing in the purple dry sack, more insulation in the form of a top quilt, it could be your sleeping bag. The air pad is also insulation. Shelter here is the Lanshan in brown, cook set and food in the yellow bag here, water filterization and water in the bottles. That is all that has come from this pack. So if we have a count up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5-piece system. 6 if you're going to include the water, 7 if you're going to be pedantic and count water as 2 because I have 2 bottles. And we're not talking about the sundries smalls such as the filter. So I am warm, dry, well fed. As I place the components back into the pack, you're going to see just how quick everything goes in. There is my under insulation. There is the top quilt, could be your sleeping bag, room to spare here if I did want to put my cook set inside as well with the food. Bottom here, completely empty. And there is quite a bundle there. I'm not keen on the waterproof sack for the clothing here, by the way. I do want to swap that out to something else. It's not the best, but it will keep my clothing dry. Double side entry and exit with the zips here, so I can do a zip from either side. Probably, as you can see, getting your clothes in and out is more awkward than getting the tent and sleeping bag. I have tried a bladder in here. It does carry a bladder, of course, but I wouldn't say comfortably. And the size of the bellows pockets, even with the filter pre-attached, I can get right in here. It's a feature I didn't know about even, that the bellows pockets went right down to the bottom. That just leaves the tent to talk about and the actual sleeping bag. Lanshan 1 Pro. I'm going to show you how I carry it. Let's undo it from its sack. Take out the pegs. I pack mine loose into the top hood. Here, it's its own little stow bag for a tent just in there. Ideally, you should be putting your waterproofs in there, really quick, easy access. But in my instance, I'm going to loose fill my tent straight into it. Why? I've had occasion where I did have to evacuate rather quickly. I wasn't detected, it was just that there was some very dubious people about. The clothing will always be in the dry sack. I don't want that to get wet. Coming back to what I said before, the top quilt or the sleeping bag, I said this is not the actual one I'm going to use. This is just for demonstration, just to fill the pack a bit. This is my top quilt. It's only a summer one, and I do have a winter one, and this is down. This is, I think, 750 fill power. My other one, 900 fill power, -17. I've tried this summer one in the summer. It's not brilliant. So, birthday coming up really soon, and I have asked for a hybrid system between a sleeping bag and a top quilt. Top quilts have their issues if you're not careful. We all know if you turn to the side it can lift off and it's a bit uncomfortable, makes a cold spot. Now with me, sleeping bags aren't great because I roll about a lot, which means if I've been lying on my back in the down sleeping bag, I've compressed all that insulation underneath me. I roll to my side, now my back is cold just because I have been lying on my sleeping bag, which is the main reason I went to top quilts. Love my top quilt. I'll show you how I use my top quilt without drafts on a different video. But yeah, that is the other issue with a top quilt. I don't like the way it goes around the neck and the shoulders. It's not ideal, and when you turn to the side it can lift up and you've got to pull it back down when you feel that draft. So it's a hybrid. So this isn't the sleeping bag I'm actually going to use. Brew set on top. This is a 5-litre bag, and when it is full it does accommodate my stove, my pot, the fuel, and 24 hours of food. And because I'm in the UK, I can just stop off at a shop and get my food. And there's lots of trail food videos. I guess I'm a bit lazy. What I do is tinned food and a bit of Uncle Ben's rice to go with it. Bang it in the pot, heat it up, eat it. And all that, as you can see, fits under the hood. I've put it under the hood because it's the first thing I have access to. When I want to stop, I just undo the QR clips and retrieve the pot I want to cook with and the food, or just a hot brew. And as you can see, plenty of room left over in the main chamber for a really big sleeping bag. So here's the bottom of the pack with the straps and QR clips where perhaps a pad might go. But what I do is get my clothing and start pushing it up towards that hood and do the straps up, and it makes the bottom of the pack here so it's not resting on my butt cheeks, which is annoying for me. Shelter, insulation, cookset. I'm eating well, I'm warm and I'm dry. I do have additional warm layers and a waterproof layer as well, which is not shown here. This is what I call my skeleton pack. It is everything other than the sundries, but it's important that I include the water because water is a kilo per litre. I have 2 litres, 2 kilos. All well and good putting your pack together and getting the lightest of everything if you're not even going to contemplate the weight of the water. Before I even buy a sleeping bag and put it in, I put the water in. I haven't included my sundries such as illumination, navigation and ablutions and things like that, although you have seen the water filter. Again, different video, because I kind of move them from one pack to the other. I have a few packs. Anyway, this is how my kit is light. Now remember, this includes the weight of the water, like I was saying before. I always set my skeleton packs up with the water. You're not always going to want to loose fill as I do, but the American thru hikers loose fill. So here in the UK, for some reason, people will not separate their stuff sack from their sleeping bag. They actually take the sleeping bag in the stuff sack and put the stuff sack in the pack, as where thru hikers and myself will just line the pack and loose fill it down the bottom. Now, I haven't bothered weighing all these packs. I do have a luggage scale, but what I want to do is show you about maybe 5 of my packs and show you the content of each of the 5. Then I'll get the scales out and we'll weigh the skeleton pack. And then all we have to do is add the sundries weight to the skeleton weight. And then that'll give you a better idea, because I do swap my sundries from one pack to the other. If I've got 5 packs, I haven't got 5 head torches, head lamps. What I do is I've just got one pack with, say, my batteries in, head torch, things like that, spare lighter, and I swap that very little sundries pack from one pack to the other. Things like trekking poles and things like that, obviously some tents will require it, like this lanshan, so take that into consideration. Although this is a budget pack, boy, it carries so phenomenally well, and I wish some of my more expensive packs was as comfortable as this is. Really is a treat to carry. Now, I don't beg for notifications and subscriptions and comments and thumbs up and likes on my channel. Kind of pointless. You either watch it or you don't. But I really recommend that you do subscribe and hit the bell, only if you want to see more of the same. Okay, we're done. Until next time, take good care of yourself, and I will see you out there. Happy trails.